Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Connect Africa. Today, I'm bringing you an article published by CFR, which is the Council for Foreign Relations. An article was published actually attacking, we can say attacking Captain Ibrahim Traoré. So I am here with all my research-based arguments and telling you why that is wrong, and everything what they have put on evidence is something ruthless. I am Mahlet Ayele, your host at Connect Africa. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell, and let's dive into it. Okay, this is the article published by CFR. Let me go right from the top, and I will tell you in summary what this article is talking about. Look, the title is called The Cult of Traoré, and it's published beginning of this month on May 5, actually. It's published by a Nigerian writer, Nigerian-American writer. In the article, actually, what he brings, so the cult of the Traoré is, all those of us who are supporting and following Traoré, and he's attacking us. He's saying it's basically mostly the African diaspora who supports Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and those are the one, according to him, first he says, what Ibrahim Traoré is doing is it's an authoritarianism, and also he says it's just a military rule, and he's attacking also the African diaspora, saying that they are sitting from the comfort of a country where democracy is practiced, and they are saying again, meaning those African diaspora, saying everything that's against democratical elected government in the Sahel states. Okay, so now for me, it's better first of all to start what is CFR, what is this Council of Foreign Relations, whose mouthpiece it is, founded by who, from which country. All those things will help us to understand what is the intention of this article that's published by the Council of Foreign Relations. Let's start from that, okay? And then I will come back for you, why we are not saying that, although it's a military rule, what's happening in Burkina Faso, but why we argue that this is something different from authoritarianism, okay? I will also explain that. First of all, what is Council of CFR, or the Council of Foreign Relations? It is founded by the United States government, and it's directly a mouthpiece of the government of the United States. And it represents, with that, of course, that comes then, it's a mouthpiece of the United States government. So it's meaning it's the government's voice. I want to read for you something, a research that is made by, that's made about the Council of Foreign Relations. Let me just read this. And this was published by on Gister, you can find it, and Robert Schluzinger. Okay, here is the first paragraph. It says, the Council on Foreign Relations occupies a stately 5-story mansion on the southwest corner of 68th Street and Park Avenue in one of the most fashionable districts of Manhattan. Once the home of Harold Pratt, a partner of John D. Rockefeller. It was given by his widow to the council in 1945. In this comfortable headquarters, the organization houses a staff of researchers and writers on every aspect of contemporary American foreign policy, holds general meeting for the approximately 2,000 carefully selected academics, public officials, lawyers, and journalists who belong to this organization. and convince specialized study groups on the world's problems. So it's from the offices in this building that it also published its influential quarterly journal, Foreign Affairs. Okay, that gives you a clear picture of what Council of Foreign Relations it is and for who it works, and those very carefully selected journalists. Okay, that belongs to the organization, not to the government that they're serving for. From it doesn't matter from where they come from, they just serve the interest of that organization. Okay, now what does the next is I want to raise topic by topic what the writer raises. First of all, in the article, let me just read it for you. It talks about authoritarianism. Let me just look against all the title is The Cult of Traoré. Okay, it starts like this: against all odds, ardor for a certain kind of authoritarianism is having a moment in Africa. Among a cross-section of its intelligentsia and general public, the idea of a lawgiver appears suddenly to be back in good order. The reason behind this infatuation is not difficult to divine. There is, for one thing, understandable frustration with the slow progress of democracy, and for another, the weakness of the political leadership, even in those countries where civil rule may be said to have made the most advance. Whatever one's feelings is about the political leaders of the immediate post-independence years, think of Julius Nyerere, Sekou Touré, Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, Kenneth Kaunda. There is no arguing that they filled the room and the imagination in a way that many of their contemporary peers simply cannot. An additional factor is amnesia, particularly regarding the ruinous legacy of the military in power, more on which later. So anyway, authoritarianism is what he blames it for, what is happening, in the Sahel, particularly in Burkina Faso, and the people who are supporting a leader like Captain Ibrahim Traoré. First of all, it's yes, he comes from the military, and all of them from in the Sahel states, Mali and Niger, and a number of African countries actually. Those even who claims to be their democratically elected, actually they come from a military background. Starting from the independence time, those are the ones, it's always close to power. Those people who are, it's easier for them. But the thing is that what we have to actually ask is that what have these democratically elected leaders or the so-called heads of states in other countries have done for Africa or for their nation, for those who gave them the power? What have they done? Did they, fulfill their request, their, request for employment, their demand of economic development, their demand of being able to use their own natural resource? Did a democratically elected head of state have done that for the people of Africa? The answer is no. We don't even need to think twice. Okay, so actually there is an interesting discussion here that's based, I think it's in Botswana. Here what this man, a political analyst from Botswana, raises. It's really interesting. Okay, I want to invite you that, and we will come back to this. Okay, I want you to hear it from the start.
Is criticism for cracking down on dissent. Traoré. In response, the military government has introduced reforms to improve infrastructure and food security. However, it has faced criticism for cracking down on dissent, including arrest of journalists and media restrictions. Additionally, Burkina Faso, along with Mali and Niger, has distanced itself from Western allies, forming the alliance of Sahel states with Russia. Political strategist and communications expert KF Malindi Jr. joins me in studio to explore the challenges of military rule in Burkina Faso and the economic reforms being implemented and the balance between governance, efficiency, and democratic accountability. One ought to wonder, can this model of governance bring stability, or does it risk undermining democratic principles? KF Malindi, thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to In Context. This is the BTV channel.
Good afternoon, Toby.
Thanks. Right now, Burkina Faso, 2022, there was that particular coup, and I want to believe that it then fell into what I would term military rule. Is that the case? Can we call it that?
Indeed, we can call it that, but there has to be context aligned to it.
Okay.
Saying that there is military rule sort of purports that there is a sort of authoritarian regime that is currently in government.
Exactly, yes.
That is not the situation. Okay. In fact, what happened was Ibrahim Traoré's government or movement removed an authoritarian government. Mm-hmm. And what they're now saying is that let us set systems in place for the next 5 years as an interim government before we go to elections. Mm-hmm. And let me give you an example of a system that would also be negatively affected if it's not changed.
Right.
If you were to have elections in Zimbabwe today,
yes,
with the current laws that are there, with the current constitution that is there, nothing would change. Mm. Systems need to change first in order for there to be actual change.
I actually really like that you pointed that out, because I wanted to now then get to dig deep if it's.
Look, before he moves to the next question, I want to add what he just said. Look, he's right. First of all, what we have to know, and most of us, what we often forget is that Captain Ibrahim Traoré is not against election, okay? What he's saying is actually, close to approximately half of the country of Burkina Faso, the territory, is now under the jihadists or these terrorists, or in fact, to use his latest term, by the criminals, the Western powers who are feeding and sponsoring these groups to fight the government, because the government has refused to bow to these colonial powers. They have, opposed to the status quo being continuing under neo-colonization, okay? So he wants, first of all, to free those people, because if we hold election now, the vote of those people, we are saying them directly, does not count. We will just make election on those territories which are under the control of government, and those one does not count. That's one. Second of all, there is a big corruption. He has come up with his own system that's not corrupted. All that removes, the people who are running for presidential not to get any money from any company in the country or any government or any NGO. They just come with their ideas to be a pure and fair, competitor, so that they will not be corrupted by any company. You understand? So he wants to put systems in place before coming to this so-called democratic election. And then we hold an election, because he gave actually a 1 year or a year and a half time for himself. And then later on, he saw that there's a lot to be done. So the people in the parliament, they have said, for 5 years it has been approved that he continues and puts those things in place, okay? And as we speak, the people of Burkina Faso, the Burkinabes, are saying that we don't want anyone. You continue to lead us because we have seen change. That's what they're saying. So just adding to the man what the analyst said, he wants to put right systems that are not going to be corrupted in place, and then election. Now let's continue.
in a state of dictatorship, that sort of thing. But if it's a transitional sort of a period, they're just fixing things such that when things are stable, then they could now hand over to the people and a democratic process will ensue. Right. Now, recently our president had a statement that he made, right? And I want you to just unpack that statement first and help us get the context of it, because I think there's a suspicion that it may have been misunderstood, and it had to do something with making direct decisions without hindrance, etc. Go ahead.
So,
so he is referring that the new president of Botswana, Duma Boko, he made a statement that he was, referring to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, how he delivers, because when it comes to him, he has, for example, he said he has a dream about something, and then when he wakes up, he just, changes it to action. There is no interruption, distraction in the middle. But when we come to, most of heads of states, what they're doing, this so-called democratically elected governments, is that they say, okay, I have this idea, I want to implement it. Then the member of parliament who are necessarily, who aren't necessarily there just for the people that, they gave them their vote, but because they are paid by a certain company, or because they are paid by certain, neo-colonial companies to guard the business of those neo-colonial powers, which is in their area from where they come from. Okay, so they will say, oh, this, we have to do this. If he say, for example, Doma Boko, if I talk like Ibrahim Traoré, somebody will tell me, oh, this kind of things we have to talk to them in a closed door. So it's not easy for us, he say, to do like that. But he is promising he will do it, but we will see. In any case, let the man give the answer, okay?
People have misconstrued the statements, and they've compared them, juxtaposed them, authoritarianism and democracy, which I think is wrong.
Okay.
And the president gave an example of Rwanda.
Right.
So let's go back and speak of what is democracy. Democracy comes from the Greek word demos, meaning people, and
right.
kratos, meaning rule. We have two forms of general democracy: direct democracy, where every single decision that's made within the country, we have to ask the people. Then we have what is more prominent within the world, which is representative democracy, which is where we vote for people, and then those people represent us within the systems of government.
Yeah.
If you look at a country like Rwanda, which has Kigali has surpassed Gaborone, has surpassed Harare, Windhoek, as well as Lusaka over the past couple of years, even though this is a country that experienced a civil war and a genocide. Now go back and look at South Africa, which has a living constitution, which most people say is the most democratic constitution in the world.
Right.
It has 32.1% unemployment rate, which is a third of the population of South Africa is unemployed. A 49.1% youth unemployment rate, and the largest wealth ratio gap in the world.
Right.
So the question then becomes, and this is alluding to what the president said,
right.
The question now becomes, is democracy working for the people in Africa?
I like that. So then what would you now then make of that particular statement? Because already I have an idea, right? And it's a very good question. Don't get me wrong. Is democracy working, especially if you're looking at those particular facts as to now if it's for the people, by the people, but then we are still having certain things that are not complementary. Then perhaps the question I just put now really needs to be answered. Let's go back to the presidential statement that he made. Direct decisions with no hindrance.
And you see, once the people have voted you in, what have they done? They have given their confidence in you,
yes,
and said, you are who we are choosing to now make decisions on behalf of us. Whether it's local public policy or foreign policy, this is now your mandate. The old lady who's selling vegetables in Solomon Sese,
right?
do you think she really wants to know each and every decision that President Maboko is making when he's dealing with the United States of America or with the African Free Continent trade area?
Not really.
No.
So that's a very interesting example, and I want to expand on that. That's exactly so. In democratic election, so what happens is people give you vote, right? Then with that vote, you deliver what they demand, what they expect from you. So when those immigrants, African immigrants who are trying to cross the Red Sea or the Mediterranean Sea, and then, you know, on their way to to Europe, who are losing their lives, do you think they care with all the bureaucracies that the government's having, or, you know, what kind of steps you're following, how you deal with Europe, how you deal with the US government? No, they want you to take action. They're only interested in your results. That's what they want. They want a result from you. Okay, they want that you can be, as a government, as their leader, as a person who is elected to lead them, you know, to fulfill their demand, to give them a job. They want you to take action. They don't care about what your parliament member says, what your bilateral relation, what your previous colonial power says. They just want you to deliver. So to do that, you have to take a drastic action. If it means to be, or if it has to be detaching yourself from your previous colonial powers, then let it be. Okay, for the benefit of your people, for the development of your economy, your nation's economy. Let that be. They just want, they are, those nations, the African people, they are interested on the result. You know, to implement the African Continental Free Trade Area, people who are, you know, doing business by the border with a neighboring country, you know, if it is for you to, if as a government you have to open borders and remove those colonial borders, then let that be so and solve their problem. They're not interested, oh, this I have to, you know, if I do this, who am I going to please? Who am I going to offend? They don't need that. They just want your action, the result. That's a very interesting thing that he brought. So whether, you know, at the end of the day, your actions, your result is what speaks to your people. So whether you come from military or whatever, it doesn't mean. It's your result, what the people want. The people don't, in fact, it doesn't matter for them for how long you are staying in power, as much as you deliver. And democratic elections, this so-called democratically elected governments, has it worked for Africa? Which is, you know, for example, you see South Africa, right? I think the man mentioned it. The most, you know, democratical constitution or life constitution that the world have. Has it worked? Compare South Africa to Rwanda, to other countries, in fact, in the southern region. There is more than 30% unemployment in South Africa. So does that serve? Much of the economy, much of the territory of South Africa is ruled and owned by the white South Africans, or the South, what are they called? The Afrikaners, right? Is that a benefit? Is that a benefit? No. So this is how we need to see it. That's so my response to this article, the cult of Traoré, and who's attacking all his supporters, and as well the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. In fact, this writer, his name is Ebenezer Obadari, he's a Nigerian American, and he is, for me, one of that where this research paper calls them, the people, the journalists, those policymakers, the lawyers, and the researchers who are serving the interest of the Council for Foreign Relations of the United States government. That's what he is, nothing else. Thank you very much for tuning in, and let us know in the comment section, what do you think of this article, okay? And what do you think of authoritarianism versus, you know, the leadership that Burkina Faso has today? Let us know in the comment section. go ahead and share the video with others, support us through our PayPal account. You can find it in the description section and buy me a coffee link. Most of you have asked me, those things are not, when it comes to PayPal and buy me a coffee link, it's not that handy. So I have to come up. Let me know in the comment section what is easier really to donate money for you. There's also super chat, super thanks that we can use. But yeah, let me know in the comment section. I'm not really tech savvy. Mostly I focus on my content, but let me know. And because the support is also needed, then I will work on it. Ciao, ciao.